Hey guys, welcome to The Bite. My name is Jackie. Today's video is on a delicious spread that we eat for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It's called lebne. It's gaining a lot of popularity in America, and I love it because this is something that I grew up eating. You can get a ready-made store-bought version that my family did a lot, and you can also make your own that my family also did a lot. And my tete, my grandmother, would do this probably more than my parents would at home. But it's so easy and requires very minimal ingredients, but it's the method that makes this very traditional, and it's something that I really wanted to share with you guys. So it looks like a lot of weird stuff on the table. This is not all ingredients, but this is just equipment that you'll need. So let me bring you closer so I can show you what I've got here. All right, so the main things that you'll need for making lebne or yogurt is milk, ready-made yogurt, and I like to use half and half. It gives it a very creamy texture and just a rich flavor. Now you might think, why are you gonna be needing yogurt if you're gonna be making yogurt? The thing is, you need the culture from the yogurt, and the culture is kind of what activates the milk and turns it into yogurt and kind of helps to solidify it. The culture is the kind of like the live ingredient, kind of like what a yeast would do for bread, minus the whole leavening portion, but it's the live ingredient that makes it into yogurt. And you can even take what you make today or what you make at home and use that portion as the culture to make the next batch of lebne or yogurt. So what I have in here is equal portions of milk and half, so 2 cups of each, but you can do it however big of a batch you want to make. And then you want a saucepan with a fitting lid. This is really important because once we cook this, let it come to a boil, cool, and add the yogurt, which I'll explain in just a minute, you're going to want it to cover, and we're going to let it sit overnight, or at least for like 8 hours or so. Next thing you'll need is a bowl with a strainer. So this is going to allow the liquid to come out of the yogurt and turn it into lebne. I also have this mesh bag. This is from Ellie's Best, and I really love this because it's kind of like a cheesecloth material. It's very, very thin, and there's holes in here, very small holes, that allow the water or the whey to come out. I like this because of the ease of cleaning. It's so much easier than cleaning the traditional pillowcase or like muslin bag that I'm used to seeing that my family uses, but this, I mean, it even ties up on top. It's so good. And on my Instagram, if you go over there, I have a giveaway for a bag like this. So head to my Instagram to check that out. Lastly, you will need a towel or a blanket. You wanna make sure it's a clean one. But once this has cooled off, we've added our yogurt, we're going to cover the whole thing in this, kind of like you wanna let it cuddle overnight just like you do in bed. So that way the yogurt kind of activates a little bit easier. So let's get this all rolling. All right, so my milk and my half and half are in my saucepan. I have the heat on about high, medium high, and I want this to come to a boil. It's gonna boil, there's gonna be foam coming around the edges, and it's gonna start to rise slightly. That is the point where you turn it off, remove it from the heat, and set it aside, and I will show you what to do next. So my daughter woke up, and I came back, and this kind of went overboard, but that's okay. I'm still gonna use the milk that's inside. So I want a couple things to happen. I am going to add my yogurt in here once it reaches the perfect temperature, and you know it's the perfect temperature when one of 2 things. The technical way is you want it to be about 115 degrees. If you have a thermometer, that's perfect. Otherwise, you can use the pinky method, which is the very traditional way to where you stick your pinky in for 10 seconds, and if your finger can handle the heat for that long without feeling like you're getting burned, then it's at the right temperature. I know that method because that's what my family's always used, so I kind of know when the right temperature has been reached. But everybody can handle heat differently, so I always suggest to use the thermometer method, 115 degrees. And the reason behind that is if the milk is too hot, the heat will kill the culture and it won't activate. If the milk is too cold, you will need to reheat it because the culture also won't activate, and it won't kind of communicate with the milk and become one solid yogurt. So about 115 degrees, and we'll see you then. All right, so the thermometer is reading right about where I want it to, and I did the pinky test as well, so it worked both ways. I have here a 1/3 cup of yogurt. I am just going to pour this right in, and you want to use whole yogurt and like whole milk yogurt and whole milk. I find that it gives you the best flavor that way, and it just comes out better. I don't know, I can't see myself using anything but whole milk, but if you want to give it a go, I just truly think that whole milk is best. And also for the yogurt, just plain regular yogurt. The Greek yogurt you can use because it does still have the culture in it, but it's already pretty strained. The yogurt, as you saw, was pretty loose, and that's what I want because it's going to mix really well, because I want to do it very gently. I don't want to have to whisk anything in. So the yogurt is in. I am just going to grab my lid. I'm going to place the lid on, and then I'm going to bring it. Look what happened to my stove. Ay, ay, ay. Clean that. But here is the towel that I had. I just opened it up, and now I'm just going to completely cover the entire pot. I like to leave the handle sticking out just so, you know, whoever comes into the kitchen knows that there is actually something in this towel. So just do this. I'm gonna let this sit overnight, nestled away, and I will see you guys tomorrow for the next step. All right, so let's unwrap this. This is the next day, and it's actually in the middle of the day. Now, I originally said to leave it for about 8 hours, but I think closer to 12 hours is better. And you can see that it's ready because when I shake the pot, it's kind of solid. And that's what you want. And I could really even leave it longer than this, but I don't want it to develop too much of a sour flavor. I prefer it to be a little bit less sour. So what I'm going to do is carefully put it into this bag. So I have my bowl, like I showed yesterday, with a strainer, a large, or not a strainer, a sieve, basically the same thing. And then I'm going to put the corner of this bag in here and carefully scoop the yogurt into here. All right, now at this point, I want to add a little bit of salt because like salt does with everything, it's going to help release the water from the yogurt. And that's what we want, is to just strain it out so that it's a lot thicker and the whey is separated. So I'm going to carefully place this in my bag. So I had to do 1 scoop already so that the bag would stay, but you can see it's in here and it looks just like regular yogurt would look. It's thicker, you know, it's not super liquidy, but it's got that thickness of regular yogurt. So I'm going to put it in the bag, and if you want it to be tart, you can leave it on the counter to release the water. I like to do it in the fridge because I find that it's actually less tart that way. So I'm going to let this strain in the fridge, probably again overnight until tomorrow. But as it's straining, I want to remove the liquid. You can already see some liquid coming from the bottom. I want to remove that periodically throughout that whole time. Otherwise, the bottom of the yogurt will touch that water and it'll defeat the purpose of straining it anyways. So make sure you keep removing that water. The whey, it's gonna be kind of like a clear yellow liquid, and then sometimes if you see a little bit of white in there, that's okay, as long as the main portion is in the bag. So I'm gonna do that and I will show you tomorrow once it's done. So this has been sitting in the fridge for actually a couple of days, just because I wasn't able to film until right now, but normally I would take it out earlier than that. I would kind of let it sit in the fridge for probably about 12 hours or so, but you can see that the liquid has come out from underneath, and I have drained this already. This is just the last bit of the liquid. This is the whey. I normally discard it, but you can also, if you are really into using every part of your food, which I commend that, you can take this and put it in like little ice molds and freeze them and put them in your smoothies for extra protein. So I'm gonna grab a Tupperware to put my labneh in, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so my yogurt is in the Tupperware. It's not super thick. I like it this way. I just enjoy the texture of it better. If you want it thicker, you can add more yogurt to the original milk base, up to even half of a cup. To me, a third of a cup works perfectly. You can hear my daughter in the background. But you can also add more salt so that more of the liquid is drained. I like to do it this way with the amount of salt that I use because then I can use it in sweet placements, which next week I will be showing you a video on how I like to implement labneh in desserts. So that is the labneh. This bag is so easy to clean. It's really dirty right now, but all I do is take it in a warm bowl of water with some soap. I scrub it gently to get rid of all the particles, and then I scrub it afterwards with a sponge and just let it air dry, and I fold it up and put it right back in my drawer, and it's perfect. I love this bag for making labneh. This weekend, be on the lookout for a dessert recipe on the channel. I'm going to be sharing with you how I like to implement this exact labneh in a creative dessert. So check it out. It's going to be a Middle Eastern and Western kind of fusion dessert. So I hope you check it out. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways that we like to plate this labneh up. All right, so this is the final creamy labneh. I love this stuff so much. And if you wanted it thicker, you can do those steps that I mentioned in the previous video. So here is how we do it. We eat this really for breakfast most of the time. You can hear my daughter in the background. She's playing. But this is how we do it for breakfast. So we always put it on a plate, and kind of similar to the way we do hummus, we kind of decorate the plate a little bit. So you want to make little wedges or like ridges, kind of waves in the labneh, so that there is some place for the olive oil, the fresh olive oil, to go. So this is when you want to use the best quality olive oil that you have. So this is Palestinian extra virgin olive oil. I got this from Sadaf, and I actually have a giveaway coming up with Al Ard, the company that makes this olive oil, so stay tuned for that because it's coming soon. And you want to just drizzle as much olive oil as you want, and you can see it kind of goes with the ridges, and it exposes the look of the waves a little bit more. Then I have some za'atar here. Whenever you go to an Arab household, more than likely you'll find a compartment for their za'atar and then a compartment for their zayt, which is the olive oil. So we typically take bread, dip it in the olive oil, dip it in the za'atar, and just eat it like that as a little snack. And za'atar is really considered brain food. So we eat it. It's a very common breakfast food that we eat, and very common with labneh. So what I'm doing is I'm just gonna take it and put it along the outside of the dish. And then we also really love to eat this with dried mint, but I'm gonna show this to you with za'atar today. But dried mint, or even fresh mint, and garlic makes for a delicious labneh dip. Another way that I like to eat this labneh is in a sandwich, as I showed in my baked garlic chili tomatoes video. I take a sesame bagel, slather it with this fresh labneh, and I put a slice of the chili baked tomatoes in there, and it's so heavenly. I can't even explain to you, it's so good. Next week, or actually this weekend, I will be sharing with you a dessert recipe with this labneh, so stay tuned for that. It's a great mix of Western, East meets West, a fusion dessert dish, and it's delicious. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and give this a try. It's not difficult at all. It does take time, but it's worth it, I promise. So thank you guys so much for watching The Bite, and we'll see you next time.